our class. It's Mr. K back out here in my luxurious studio, also known as my garage. So this week we're going to do some drawing, and today we're going to work on drawing people. Now there's a lot of different ways you could try to draw people. Like for instance, you could do something that's a bit more on the realistic side, so that it looks like exactly like a person. Or you could do something that's a little bit more symbolic, probably something like you did back when you were very, very little, maybe in kindergarten. We're going to find a way today to have a style that kind of combines those two things together, oftentimes, a little bit, to draw people quickly and easily, simply. It's not easy. And we're going to talk about how to draw cartoon characters today. So now once you get the hang of it, it's a really great way to do something that's very quick, and it can be very effective for telling a story and getting a emotion or a character's personality across with just a few lines, just something very brief, very quick. It doesn't have to be super detailed. And we're going to learn about the basics of creating your own cartoon characters. Today's standard is Anchor Standard number 5, develop and refine artistic techniques and work for presentation. And our objective is practice and create one or more original cartoon characters. All right, now today's materials are just about as basic as they get. You're going to need a pencil. A pen is optional if you want to ink it in after the fact, but you're going to want to use a pencil to draw them to start with. And you're going to need paper. You're going to need lots of paper, because we're not just going to draw one character and be done. You're going to work on practicing your character and really kind of perfecting that character or characters. And one suggestion I have, instead of using fresh, pristine paper every single time, maybe you've got some old homework assignments that are blank on the back, old, notepads or something like that, that maybe you've got at least one side of the paper. Even if it's got lines on it, that's okay for the practice part. We're going to just kind of practice going through. I did some practice before I made this video. I drew all of these pages. You can use both sides too. I should have probably done that. Where I did all of these things where I practiced mine. It takes a while to get used to it. It takes a while to work on these things. So we're going to work on some so that you can show us one really nice character, hopefully. And we will get to it. So go get that paper, go get that pencil, and let's go. Okay, I've got my paper, I've got my pencil, and today I am going to use pencil. A lot of times I'll use a pen, even though I tell you to use pencil. We're going to need pencil because you're going to find out that we're going to need to erase. But before we get into that, you also want to go ahead and go back in the video. Don't feel like you have to do this along with me. Feel free to stop, pause, try some of the things out as we go. This is a good video to do it along with me, but don't feel like you have to leave the video running and keep up, okay? Take moments, take a little break, do some of your own drawing, come back to the video. Now, some things besides that to keep in mind, you're going to want to draw lightly. Draw very lightly to start with. You're going to hold a little further back on the pencil. It's going to feel weird. It's going to seem wrong. You're used to pushing as hard as you can and holding really far up the pencil. Lighten up your grip. Hold way back here. Loosen things up and draw lightly, because you're going to want to erase some of this. They're going to be guidelines. They're not going to be a finished product. You're also going to want to draw a lot. I drew a whole bunch of stuff, and I'd say maybe half of it, when I was kind of getting ready for this video and going through how to do this, maybe half of it was okay. Several of them were really, really good, and a bunch were just like, ooh, what's that thing? And that's okay. You want that. You're going to learn from that. Also, you are going to need to erase, but don't erase because you don't like it. Don't get rid of something. You want to be able to take a look at it later and say, well, I like the way the eyes worked, but we got to work on the nose. Something like that. So, first thing we're going to start with are the heads. Let's try drawing a head. So, we're going to obviously use some sort of a shape. Now, you can go with a bunch of different ones. And this is why I like to draw lightly. I'm just going to draw something nice and light here, and then I can darken it in. You can do just kind of a regular old circle. Kind of your classic Charlie Brown look here. Maybe you want to go with something a little more oblong. Maybe you want something very wide. Kind of getting that Stewie. Oh, what's that? Family Guy. Yeah, I couldn't think of the name of it for a second there. So don't be afraid to try out some different shapes. So go ahead and maybe make a few heads on your page. They can not, you know, they don't have to be perfectly circular or symmetrical. They can be kind of off. And when you want to try some that are tricky, and this is why you want to do it lightly. If I do kind of a tall shape like this, and then one like this, I'll do this one lightly this way. And then I'll do this kind of a shape over here, starting at the bottom of there. That's a little big. There we go. Then I can have a head that has more of a, like these kind of chubby cheeks here. And maybe I have a little bit of a chin sticking down or something like that. And I can get rid of these other lines. And then when I put my face on there later, and I can put hair, and I put eyes and a mouth, whatever you want to do, you're going to use that extra shape. Okay, so go ahead, give it a try, make some circles. They don't have to be super huge. You don't want teeny tiny ones like this, because you got to actually be able to put something inside of it later. But go ahead, maybe if you push really hard and then you don't like the shape, oh, that kind of dipped in there, right? It's almost impossible to erase that all the way. If you draw it lightly, you can fix it up. Like this one here, I got this little extra line. I drew it lightly enough, I can get rid of that. So later on, I can go in and edit these and fix them up and do whatever I want. So go ahead and try maybe a few circles. It's easier to draw a circle if you loosen up and go around a few times. Then I can get rid of some of those extra lines I don't like, because you're going to get that, and that's okay. So draw a few circles. You can do that now. Draw a few circles, or heads I should say. They don't have to be circles. Right? Let's see what you can come up with. There's no one right answer. And the shape of the head is going to tell you something about that character's personality. You're going to be able to make them really super goofy or really serious or mean or funny or whatever it is, depending on this shape. And you'll figure it out as you go. You can try out some different eyes and mouths and noses and all that sort of stuff on your... Now we're going to work on some eyes. So now the thing about eyes is there's a ton of different ways where you can make a very basic shape and really give it a lot of emotion. Some of the most, the easiest ones you can think of would just be put a couple of dots. That's all it takes. You don't have to do anything else. Sometimes maybe that works the best. You could put a couple of circles. You could fill that in. You could just put some little dots inside here. They look a little bit like they are, kind of scared. One really good way to do eyes, I always like this one, is put like a letter C and then a backwards C. That works nicely. And you can put a little line kind of for an eyebrow, or eyelid rather. Talk about eyebrows later. And give it like a little half circle. You want them to look sideways. Whoops. I guess they start looking like E's, huh? Put it like this, and you can have your person look sideways. You could do a little line with your dot. You could put a couple of like sideways sixes with a dot instead of a circle. Looking that way. I guess there'd be nines looking this way. So there's all sorts of different ways you can make your eyes. So let's go ahead and combine these two things here. I'm just going to make a shape for a head and kind of just play around with this a little bit. Now, one thing about the eyes, where they go in this head shape could also have a lot to do with what it ends up looking like. So let's say I use my C's. I put them pretty low here. I'll make my, I don't like that one. I'm gonna try that again. Make it a little bit bigger. Put that little line in there. There we go, we got some eyes. You could put them farther apart. Maybe you've got just dots and they go really far apart. That could tell us something totally different. They don't have to be nice circles. They could be kind of tall. Starts getting that kind of an anime look a little bit, I guess. Now, I know a lot of people really enjoy drawing anime and they do a great job. So if you're used to drawing in the anime style, try branching out and maybe go a little more, you know, Charlie Brown or something. Or maybe you really like drawing things that look like, you know, Charlie Brown or SpongeBob. Maybe you want to give it more of an anime style eyes. I personally, I love the anime stuff, but I'm not that good at it. So I'm not gonna teach you guys how to draw anime because I bet a bunch of you could do it better than I can. So try out these different styles of eyes on top of these different styles of heads. Maybe give it how you draw them gives it an emotion. Even if I don't have anything else, this guy looks kind of sad the way the lines slant down. But if I did the same thing over here with my lines going this way, now he looks mad. What if I did the same exact thing? I don't have a mouth. I don't have anything other than a circle, 2 lines, and 2 dots. If I put lines up here, now he looks worried or scared or something. So the emotion, the eyes really give it some sort of an emotion, depending on how you do it. And I guess we could talk eyebrows too, since we're talking about eyes, they go together. Now you've got, let's give it a nice big kind of egg shape here. Maybe we want to go with this sort of C look here. Go kind of halfway on the eyelids. You can make them kind of bushy. Make a squiggly line sideways. I'll try to do the same exact thing here. Let's do it over here. I've got some room. More of an egg shape. Try to draw this almost identical as much as I can. Give it a little thin line like this. Everything's the same except for the eyebrows, but it looks totally, it gives it a whole different look. So don't be afraid to give your character some sort of maybe a unibrow. That could be kind of fun. So test it out. That's the whole key to all this, is try new things, play around with it a little bit. That's kind of fun. Almost looks like he's upside down and that's his mouth, but so sometimes, like, this one's okay. I like this guy a whole lot better, but you won't know until you try the other ones. So test things out. You might like it a whole lot better or a whole lot worse if you change the shape. Kind of goof this up. I was trying to draw it dark for you guys. And there we go. Put it a little further down, and I can play around with the hair later maybe. Put them really close together. You could even connect them like this. Have them looking off to the side here. So they start getting some character, some emotion just with those eyes. So play around with different types of eyes. See which ones you like. See which ones you feel comfortable drawing. Maybe try some you don't feel very comfortable drawing. That's a great way to learn something about it. Let's see here. Let's give it one of these really tall, skinny ones. See what we can do here. How about, you put the eyes really far up, making these big, tall ovals. One eyebrow up, one eyebrow down. He's looking a little curious about something that way. He's not so sure. Maybe I give it that wide-looking one here. Let's see here. How about some... There we go. That's an interesting... maybe I could kind of curve that around a little bit more. We'll turn that into hair later. We'll work on hair later. We're just building up one thing at a time. So take some of those head shapes that you drew, throw some eyes in there and see what you think. Test things out. Give it a shot. Try something different. Whichever side they're on. Now this person looks like they're looking over this way. They're looking over at this guy right here, trying to figure out what's up with this tall, pointy head. So, test things out, try out some different eyes. Are these the only possible eyes that you could come up with? No, there are going to be tons and tons and tons of others. These are only an idea. I would love nothing more than to see you come up with something that isn't here. Can you invent a new type of cartoon eye? So test it out, try it out, see what works for you. So let's keep this going here with testing out new things. We need some noses. We need a nose. Let's see here. Now there's all sorts of them. There's kind of the classic upside down 7. Or maybe an L that's leaning over. You could even think of it as a hockey stick. That's 2 noses, by the way. You could draw one nose that looks like that. That could be interesting. I'm coming up with a new nose now. There's also the classic sort of fish hook look. Go that way, you could go that way. Make them really big, really tiny. You could have some that are just sort of a little U. Maybe even a C, sort of sideways. That's a little more Charlie Brown-like. They could be super long, super short, however you want them to be. So let's go ahead and add some heads, get some of these eyes that we had going on with the C's. Put that line across there. Person's looking straight ahead. Now I can come straight out from there and come down and be kind of big. It could maybe you've got your eyes a little further apart. Come from way up there. Go all the way across. Things don't have to get super, super realistic. Now, it's not kind of like the old days where you were just drawing 2 dots and a smiley face. It's like stick figure people, but with a little something extra, right? So I'll make this one fairly circular. And maybe I make the eyes really far up and they're just dots. Maybe for this one, a much smaller nose works. Maybe I want to go with this kind of egg-shaped head. Oh, and how about these type of eyes down here, but a little further apart. Maybe the nose could be right in the middle. Again, doesn't have to be super realistic. So, however you want to go about it. That one turned out kind of small, but that's okay. Oh, it's small, so I'll make just dots and a pointy nose. So lots and lots of different ways. You can also make the nostrils on the side of the nose, so it comes out like this, and just this little line over here makes it look like the side of a nose. So maybe we give it, oh, I don't know, we'll give it one of those 6s. And we'll draw this type of a nose in here with the little nostril on the side there. So there's lots and lots and lots of different noses. We can give it some eyebrows too. I keep forgetting the eyebrows. Squiggly eyebrows. These kind of look like they already have eyebrows. This guy could get some eyebrows. If you really want to draw an eyebrow that looks a little more realistic with, kind of hairs coming out there a little bit, that's fine. You can totally do that. So test things out, see what noses look good. Cartoons are a great way to exaggerate things and make them a little more, more intense than they usually would be. So we can give this guy a great big nose that sticks down. Once we get a mouth in there, it's going to start looking a little better. So get those really short. I'll do this type of eye, but just more round, just bigger circles. And a little tiny nose. Huge eyes, tiny nose. So you can really play with the sizes of things. Got these little, let's put them really far apart. See what happens here. Put these lines in a different spot. This totally looks like Stewie though. Not really trying. What kind of nose would make it look less like that? There we go, kind of a 7, but with a little bend on the end of it there. And that little parenthesis looking thing that makes it a nostril. So all of these are pretty much a circle, some eyes, and some sort of a nose shape. But each one is very, very different. This one's a little bit more rounded, like a C. This one's kind of a sideways U. So play with these things. Test them out. Try a different one. One you might like one of them. I kind of liked this one when I did it, but I like this one even better now that I've tried something a little bit different. So don't be afraid to test it out. Don't get stuck on one thing. All right, so now let's put some mouths on these. Now mouths can be just your classic smiley face mouth, or maybe make it like kind of a U, but with a little line. Maybe the line goes all the way across. Maybe the line dips down. So these are kind of your standard, mouth. Maybe your person looks very surprised. Just give it a very small circle, and they'll look really super surprised. Sometimes it could just be a line, or maybe a sideways line, or if they're kind of worried about something, you make it a squiggly line, it'll look like they're worried. So the mouth and the eyebrows put together are what's going to really give it some emotion and give it some character. So let's see here. Let's try tell you what, I'm going to throw some of these nose ones back on the page here. I did these a moment ago. Let me get rid of my nose examples. So let's put some of these mouths in here. Well, this guy's got this here. What if we gave him a little tiny circle for a mouth? He looks kind of worried or surprised or something. We can give this guy, you know, this nose dips down so far. I'm gonna make it dip down even further just to play with it a bit. Let's really dip it down here. Oops, I erased part of my eye on accident. I could even cover up part of my mouth. So I take that kind of basic shape, but play around with it a little bit and dip that nose down even further. This looks worried. This looks like a perfect wiggly mouth. That's perfect. This guy's not so sure about what's going on here. You can give it, you know, some straight lines, almost triangular like this, and it kind of looks like he's speaking out the side of his mouth. I just did 1, 2, 3 lines, and you could also give it some little wrinkles. That way it looks like part of his mouth is sticking up a little bit. The size of the mouth or eyes or nose is also very important. So maybe this person, he's got really tiny eyes, this teeny tiny little nose, teeny tiny little eyebrows. What if I really exaggerate and go super, I'm gonna do it really lightly. I'm gonna go super, super small down here with the mouth. That's kind of interesting. What happens if I do that same thing? Usually I would tell you to not erase, but I'm just gonna do this real quick. What if I did the same exact thing with a really big mouth? Oh, I like that even better. That's kind of fun. And you can give them teeth and tongue if you really, really want, but I think just plain shapes like this might even be more effective. This guy's mad, so he can be kind of clenching his teeth. That looks like he's mad. How about the placement? This guy kind of talking out the side of his mouth here. He's got one side up. It doesn't even have to come all the way around. I kind of like it just like that and give it this little wrinkle. So one part of his face is kind of scrunched up a little bit. This one might be good small. There we go. Everything else is such a straight line. I think this one needs just a little line. So maybe not both eyebrows have to be in the same spot. The eyebrows don't have to be on the forehead. These guys can stick off of here a little bit. Oops, I'm not going to give it hair yet. I don't want to do that. I'm skipping ahead. Let's see, what could I do with this guy? Just be kind of a line. Little lines on each side. I'm going to dip down a little bit from that line. His mouth's just barely open. Nice. So there's lots of different things. Again, with just a few simple shapes, throwing in some eyebrows, you have instant character with these shapes. All right, now we need to give some of these things some hair. So I'm gonna put that over here. And I put some of these characters that I'd already drawn. I did, I think, a couple that I hadn't really. And let's try some hair in here and some other features as well. This is what's gonna really start making it look like your character. Some of them, I forgot a mouth here. Well, let's see here. What do I want this guy to look like? Let's give him some eyebrows. You need some bushy eyebrows. And that's just a squiggly line that doesn't go very far. He's got this kind of smiley face off to the side. Now, the thing about hair you want to really think about is don't be afraid to come down below this top line for your scalp. And this is why you want to draw these kind of lightly. I drew it kind of heavy so you could see it on the video a little bit better. But don't be afraid to come down and don't be afraid to go up. You do not have to go with what is normal or what is realistic. in this. You can get crazy with it. It's a cartoon. So we can have the hair come down here a little bit further and go over the top a little bit. I'm going to color it in anyway, but just want to get that most of that line out of there. You can also bring it down on the side here. And we can't forget our ears. I'm not going to do a whole separate thing for ears. Just put a little right on the side there. Give that a few lines. You can show some of those lines there so it looks like hairs. This is a guy here, it looks like, right? So we got kind of a typical guy looking character. Your mouth too, I forgot to mention this before. Make like a little bird shape and then a little part U underneath of it, and it looks like lips. So this person could have some hair coming up off the top here. And we can get rid of this line up here. Don't really need it. Let's give this person some thinner eyebrows. And make one maybe kind of up high. She's not so sure about this guy over here. So what are you up to, dude? Give her some little tiny ears. Now your ears, this is where it comes in handy to draw lightly. If I bring my ears overlapping that, I can get rid of that line in there. So, what are some things that you could do? Just bring some lines out. Bring it down here, right? Give this character some long hair. I'm not going to worry about shoulders and bodies yet. That's for another project, or for another part of this, I should say. We'll get to that later. So maybe this guy's just got some, just put a few little lines. That's all it takes for hair sometimes. Don't forget your ears. Your ears could be gigantic too. Again, we don't have to go with what's normal and what's regular. Maybe this guy's got humongous ears with the little, I don't know what that thing is called. Give it just a little line, just to kind of give it an idea. And these huge ears and his teeny tiny little nose. Make the mouth really high up. And, oh, let's see here. Let's give this guy some kind of curly hair. Hey, maybe I don't come down below this. Maybe that's all that it takes. That's it. That's the hair. Just a few lines up top, maybe kind of. Color in the mouth. Oh heavens, let's see here. Oh, maybe he's got a little bit of hair on the side and that's it. He's like an older guy. So there's no end to what you can do for the hair on this. Now, I just got rid of that one little line inside of there, and that makes this look kind of three-dimensional, like it's over the top, and like the head is turned slightly to that one side. This one ear doesn't do that, so it looks like it's behind a little bit. I forgot eyebrows for this guy. Play around with those eyebrows, see what makes sense for them. Maybe this guy gets like one of those great big. Let's really go big. So don't be afraid of it. Yeah, this looks kind of like, you know what? It's going to be a lady's hairdo with that extra little bun on top, you know? These are just some little, like, C's. I don't have to fill in the whole thing. Give her some earrings. There you go. Looks like somebody's grandma now or something. I don't know. And you don't have to have hair. I mean, like this one right here. Just throw some ears on. That's it. You get kind of a Caillou look there to it, huh? All right, now this guy that I drew before, we could put some ears down here. And there we go. I can color that hair in. Notice I'm not getting so super duper detailed that I draw every little thing in. Sometimes all you need is just an idea of something. Give them those cleft chins. There we go. So play with it, see what you can do. But again, don't be afraid. If you are doing the hair, don't be afraid to come down below this scalp line. Don't be afraid to go above it. Don't be afraid to leave it there too. That might work better for your character. The key to this is keep trying different things. Don't just do one thing over and over and over again until you get your style, until you find your character, and then you can keep doing it for the cartoon whenever the person shows up. So play around with those and let's see what else we can add to our people here. All right, so I have a couple of our characters that I was drawing, and I thought these two worked nicely together. I liked a lot of the other ones as well, but these guys seem to really, fit. It looks like the little kid who's in preschool or something is going over to visit Grandpa, and he's kind of wearing Grandpa out here. He looks tired to me, and he looks like, hey, come on, let's play some more. So now we can add a body to these. We can give it, fill out the rest of our character and really make it make sense. Now we could give them a neck. We could put a thin neck on here. We don't have to. We could put a very thick neck. Maybe if it's more of like a bad guy or maybe not even a bad guy. It looks like more of just these two tiny little lines here make it look like a neck. You know what we can also do is just bring some shoulders out, straight out of the head. You don't even have to worry about a neck. Now, I'm going to do the same thing over here. But for this guy, I'm not even going to go past basically your shoulders. You have, in real life, you have about one full head. Like if you could, take that measurement of your head and put it over onto your shoulder, you've basically had enough room for 3 heads. 1, 2, 3. One on top of each shoulder. Like that. That measurement would be about the same as one head. We don't have to worry about that in a cartoon. That could give it more character and make it more interesting to make it incorrect and make it wrong. So for this little guy, I'm going to make him look very little by making his shoulders not very wide. Maybe I make this guy, actually I'm going to have this guy, get rid of these extra heads here. I'm going to have this guy stick out even further. He's going to be kind of a big burly grandpa. There we go. This little guy, he's going to be really super short. So you can just kind of put like the bottom of a box. If you want to make that line go up, you can. You don't have to do it. Legs. You just have a couple of lines coming down. I'm gonna make super short legs. You could make really super long legs. I don't think that works for this character or this character. I'm gonna make some short little stubby legs. Just the line down, straight across, line down, straight across. And I could just put one line. I've got a little gap there. I can leave that. It's okay. It's a cartoon. Just like a little bubble feet. That totally works. Make a little line down. The other line for the arm is this line here on the shirt. Do you have to do that? No, of course not. What if you want to have him sticking his arm up? You could do that. And for fingers, we can just put a few little kind of bubble shapes. You don't have to worry about getting 5 on each hand. There, I now have an annoying little kid who's going to stay with Grandpa and wearing Grandpa out. I don't have to color that in perfectly either. There's lots of ways you can go about this. You can tell a whole story right here. So Grandpa's gonna have his arms on his hips. Like, oh my gosh, what did you do? Now notice I got this coming in, just kind of a curved line. This just comes down. These look like fists. Look like knuckles. Bring that straight down. Put a little line there. Looks like he's wearing a white t-shirt that way. These guys are related, so they both have the short, stubby little legs. Maybe he just has... Now all it's taking is like a big U and an upside down V. That's it. There we go. He's done. You can color in the pants. You can color in the shirt instead. However you want to do it. These are only suggestions. You don't have to stick with it. I could make the shoes all black. I suggest not coloring in this dark right away so you can let it, so you can figure out what you want to do with it. You can give it a background, give it that excuse me line. Now they look like, if you have it going right under their feet like this, then it looks like they're hovering on top of something. If you put that line like where the wall and the floor meet, behind them, that makes it look more like they're standing on ground. And there's lots of stuff you can do with this. And I could get into cartoon bubbles, but we only have so much time for this video. But that's a really kind of a quick, easy way. If you want to just focus on the face right now and the head, that's totally fine. But don't be afraid to play around a little bit and throw some other features on here. Give it a little bump on the end there. That's kind of cool too. There we go. If you want to pencil it in lightly and then do it with ink at the end, that's how real cartoons do it. So go ahead, play around with it a little bit, and don't be afraid to make them not correct proportions. Okay, I've got this, look at this. Let's measure this. There's how tall the head is. It's the same height as the rest of the body. The head is half of this kid's body. I don't think that's realistic. I don't think I've ever seen anybody like that. Now this guy's a little less. There's like 3 heads tall. Real people will be 8 heads tall. If you measured from the top of your head to the bottom of your head, for grown-ups, it's gonna be this measurement 8 times is how tall you are. And most people, I think kids, it's 6 when you're younger. Your head is a little bit bigger still. But don't be afraid to play with those proportions of how much the head is of the body, how wide things are. Play around with it. Have some fun. See what you can do. Make it yours. All right, so I hope that helps you out drawing some cartoons. And I'd love to see some characters from you. We're going to try to get at least one. Maybe we can get even 2 or 3. If you want to tell a little story with it and draw a picture in the background, that would be awesome. And I'm really looking forward to seeing what you do. I think the biggest thing on this is just keep trying something else. Don't crumple stuff up or erase it and get rid of it. Take a look at the old ones that you did. Take a look at the stuff and say, yeah, that works. I like the eye from that one. I like the mouth from that one. What if I took those 2 things and put them together? You can find little bits and pieces in each one of the ones that you weren't that happy with, and you can end up coming up with something that you really, really like. So make it look like whoever you want to. Come up with something new. It's one thing to go ahead and copy other cartoons, and like I had some that looked like Stewie. That happens. But don't just try to copy something else. Don't just redo Snoopy and Charlie Brown all over again. Try to make it your own. Try to make it new. Try to make it special. And who knows, it could even look like you if you really wanted it to. I'll see you next time. Take care.